Hello, everyone. This is Craig with RedChip. Thank you for joining today's event with Bullfrog AI, which trades on the Nasdaq under the ticker BFRG. With us today, we have Vin Singh, founder and CEO of Bullfrog. We will begin with a brief presentation in a moment, and then we'll open the event to your questions. Before we begin, please allow me to read the Safe Harbor Statement. This call may contain forward-looking statements within the meaning of the Private Securities Litigation Reform Act of 1995. All statements pertaining to future financial and/or operating results, along with other statements about the future expectations, beliefs, goals, plans, or prospects expressed by management, constitute forward-looking statements. Any statements that are not historical fact should also be considered forward-looking statements. Of course, forward-looking statements involve risks and uncertainties. I now turn this webinar over to Vin. Please go ahead.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. Great to be with you today. My name is Vin Singh. I'm the chairman, founder, and CEO of Bullfrog AI. Excited to tell you our story. First, let's start with investment highlights. So as an investor, what's important to you? What do we want you to know? Here are a few very important points. Number one, we have a partnership with the Libra Institute where we have access to neuropsychiatric data from the largest brain bank in the world for patients with those conditions. We have technology. Our AI comes from the Johns Hopkins University Applied Physics Lab, which is a world-class research institute. So this is a proprietary AI platform, an award-winning platform. You've probably recently heard about the FDA and how they want to move away from animal models and more toward AI solutions and other technologies. So we think we're very well positioned for that. We also launched Bullfrog Data Networks this year, which really enables biotech companies and pharma to generate new intellectual property, make discoveries, de-risk their programs. So we're very excited about that, and we'll talk a little bit more about that later. The market is very large for what we do, and it's growing. And I think the estimates are underestimated, to be honest, because AI is evolving so quickly. Drug development costs and timelines have been getting longer and longer, and larger and larger. And so there are some real challenges there, and it's a perfect opportunity for us. And you're always looking at risk. We don't burn a lot of cash, just over $6 million a year. And with all the great technology and the assets that we have and the discoveries we're making, we think we're really well positioned. And one BioBucks deal with pharma takes us to a whole nother level. We'll be a profitable, very profitable company and be able to do all kinds of exciting things. As we all know, the cost of developing drugs is extremely high. Change is definitely needed. Peak sales that are forecasted are declining. A lot of drugs, very big drugs, are coming off patent over the next several years. So there's a lot of pain out there in the pharma world, and that trickles down to patients. And we think what we're doing, we know what we're doing is going to make a difference. When you look at the overall drug discovery market, it's very large and it is growing, and that's over the next 10 years, expecting a pretty significant growth rate. Again, that's tied to the patent cliff for many, many pharmas. And these are drugs that are generating, tens of billions of dollars in some cases. So there's a real rush to discovering new drugs. And the AI role in drug development is also increasing. And as I said a minute ago, I think this is underestimated because AI is evolving at an incredible pace. Every week, there's something new. And it's playing a bigger and bigger role in everything from discovery all the way through clinical trials and beyond. We are obviously trying to get that first deal with pharma. Here are some examples from our sector. As you can see, these are pretty substantial deals. In many cases, over $1 billion. And for the type of work we're doing, we're expecting to achieve something along these lines. And as I said a minute ago, for us, that's transformational. Our business model is pretty straightforward. We use AI to discover drug targets that drive disease, okay? But we also want to help others do that, biotech companies and pharma companies in the marketplace, and I'm going to talk about that in a minute. As far as our proprietary AI platform, here are the three components: scalable graph analytics, causal AI, and generative AI, which you hear about all the time. But what we have is proprietary. Causal AI might be a new concept, new term for a lot of you. Let me briefly explain what that is. Typically, when you're thinking about AI, you're looking for relationships that exist in the data. With causal AI, you can identify the magnitude and direction of those relationships, and therefore the name causal, which allows you to identify the causal driver of disease, for example, which is what we do and have done on some projects. Our technology, our platform can incorporate virtually any type of data, which makes it incredibly versatile. So even though we spend a lot of our time and focus on discovery, it can be applied anywhere across the entire drug discovery and development continuum. Our technology is explainable, which we think is critically important. And I think at some point the FDA may require that, because when you're making life and death decisions, life or death decisions, large investment decisions, you want to understand how the AI generated the answer that it did, okay? We think our technology is, it's accurate, it's very quick, and ultimately what this ends up resulting in is, shorter timelines, smaller investments, get through the process quicker, and drugs that actually work, okay? So this is a precision medicine approach that we're using. So with our technology, as I mentioned, we can identify the causal drivers of disease. So if you look at the left side of the slide here, this is just an example of this illustration of what we've actually done with neuropsychiatric data. And we were able to identify the actual genes and transcription factors that are driving all the other genes and transcription factors, which are then causing the disease. In the world of drug discovery, a very high percentage of drugs fail because the wrong target is picked. What is the target? The target is what you see here on the screen: a gene, transcription factor, protein, whatever that is. And using our approach, our technology, our process, we think we'll have a much higher likelihood of success. Now I want to play a very short video for you. This is Bullfrog Data Networks, so you just get a feel for what it is exactly, and then we'll talk about it.
Bullfrog AI is now offering Bullfrog Data Networks, a purpose-built data network platform to incorporate multimodal healthcare data into a global network with the ability to find insights within clusters of relevant data. Data networks can be interrogated for answers to questions, including genomic associations with disease. Data within a network is assigned to a type of node, in this case, distinguishing between patients with or without cancer, genomic attributes, and specific disease indications. The multimodal data is fused into a global network containing nodes, representing each data point, and edges, representing the connections within the data. Clusters of data are identified within the global network, including those that are specific to the cancer indication of interest. Specific genomic attributes are identified by the platform for further investigation, including potentially as drug targets.
So that's a short illustration of what Bullfrog Data Networks is. The good thing for us, again, we launched this in January, pushing this out to the biotech and pharma markets. Price points for a one-year subscription to these networks, which are generated from public data or proprietary data from the client. These go from hundreds of thousands up to over $1 million, just depending on what it is that we're working with. One advantage here is the data market itself is actually growing at a pretty high rate. And the more data, the more insights, the more you can learn, the more success we'll have. So this plugs in very nicely to this new solution that we've launched. As far as the value proposition of Bullfrog Data Networks, we're seeing two key value propositions. The first one is this is an intellectual property generator. That's a really big deal. That's what companies are really most interested in, which is creating IP that they can monetize. They can raise money off of that IP. They can increase the valuation of their companies. So this is a very, very powerful value proposition, and the discoveries we make are a perfect fit for this. The other side is clinical trial optimization. About 6 weeks ago, or a couple of months ago, we announced our first Bullfrog Data Networks customer, Elazon Pharmaceuticals. This is a privately held biotech that has one drug in phase 3 for pancreatic cancer and 2 other drugs for other indications that are ready for phase 3. We are working with them to identify biomarkers and help with, design the clinical trials effectively. So this is a important win for us, and it's incredible opportunity for Elazon as well. So we're very excited about that. We'll have results from our analysis in the next several months, and we'll talk to Elazon about what we're able to disclose. But really exciting project. It's a challenging project, and we all know pancreatic cancer, very, very difficult disease to treat. Not many, drugs are going to make it all the way through the process. And we get to play a role here. We get to make sure that the right patient's getting the right drug, right? What's the profile of those patients that's going to most benefit? We have a partnership with the Lieber Institute, which I mentioned in the beginning. It's a 3-year partnership. We've identified a significant number of drug targets that drive major depressive disorder, bipolar disorder, and schizophrenia. We're going to market with those discoveries, which means we're talking to pharma. We're trying to get a deal done with them. And we're talking to a number of pharmaceutical companies. Very, very exciting. And as I said, using our technology, we think we've identified the real drivers of those diseases. So very optimistic about the prospects for getting a deal done this year. They take time. These are not small numbers we're talking about. So it's a longer process, but we've got all the pieces, and we'll see what happens here. But very, very excited about this. We have other assets in our portfolio here that we're looking to outlicense for glioblastoma, obesity and liver disease, and colorectal cancer. In some cases, there's a target and a drug. In other cases, they're just a drug. But we're looking to actively looking to outlicense those. And then the neuroscience on the left, I just mentioned to you, looking for a target discovery and validation deal with pharma. As far as where we are headed, so we have a lot going on right now. We want to continue to build the Bullfrog Data Networks business, getting more companies signing up for these subscriptions. And we're exploring, building this ourselves, but we're also thinking about a commercial partner that can help us scale this much faster. We want to generate revenue from partnerships, proof of concept studies, and really, the holy grail is the BioBucks study, BioBucks deal. And, in this industry, for what we're doing, the first deal is always the hardest. Once you get past that, you're validated in the market. Second, third, fourth, they're going to come faster and for larger dollar amounts. Looking ahead, a year or two out, we want to get milestone payments, from these earlier deals that we've secured. We want to look at other diseases of the brain. Obviously, we have a lot of expertise in the brain. and we want to continue doing these deals. We want to scale Bullfrog data networks, and we're also looking at new technology solutions. We have a very, very innovative data science team, lots of great ideas, and we're studying where the market is going. Technology solutions, we think are going to become a very, very important aspect of drug discovery and development. And then looking further out, maybe co-develop drugs, move beyond target discovery and validation, move further down the discovery process that will de-risk the assets and also make them much more valuable, more attractive for partnering. But we're going to do this on a stepwise fashion, okay? We want to use cash flows from the deals that we do to feed the engine and be able to extend ourselves a little bit further as we move forward. As far as what do a target discovery deal, what does that look like? What's the structure? They're pretty pretty attractive economics, up to $20 million upfront per target, up to 200 million if all the milestones are hit. And typically they are multi-target deals. And remember, for neuropsychiatrics, we have 3 disorders with a number of targets for each disorder. So, we should be able to do several deals based on our findings. So this is, that, like I said earlier, it'll be transformational for the company when this happens. The other exciting thing is, companies, the revenue multiples for the types of things we're doing are pretty phenomenal. For networks, you're looking at about 35 times revenue. For early stage, meaning early in the revenue cycle for Bullfrog, target discovery deals can be 100 times revenue, maybe even more. So it'll be very interesting to see what happens. But in any case, the areas that we're operating are very attractive from the market perspective. We have an amazing team at Bullfrog. I'm just highlighting a few here, but a lot of experience. I'm a serial entrepreneur. This is the second company that I have founded that's gone public on Nasdaq. Josh Blatcher is our CFO, very talented, experienced guy, has worked for some great companies, Teva, for example. Praveen Kudithapudi is our Chief Business Development Officer. He's a medical doctor by training with neuroscience expertise. He's worked in investment banking. He has a tremendous deal sheet, very, very well connected. Christy Bigos is our Senior Director of CNS. She's also an assistant professor at Hopkins School of Medicine, and she's president-elect of the ASCPT. And her knowledge and expertise in neuropsychiatrics has been incredibly valuable to us for that project. So, and again, other great members of the team, but I just wanted to highlight a few. So again, I'll give you a few seconds going through the investment highlights one more time. At the end of the day, we're a small company that doesn't burn a lot of cash. We have fantastic proprietary technology. We have fantastic data, a one-of-a-kind data set that we've had access to and have made these amazing discoveries. The market is growing very rapidly. So we think all the pieces are there for big success this year and beyond. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Vin. We'll take your questions now. You can submit your question by clicking the Q&A button at the bottom of the Zoom window and using the text box. Vin, we've already received a few questions.
Okay.
The FDA recently announced an initiative for digital twins. Does Bullfrog plan on pursuing digital twins?
Yeah, it's something that we are looking at. The key with digital twins is the data, right? And you need enough rich data to be able to effectively mimic the body or an organ in the body or a portion of an organ in the body. The work we're doing now in the brain puts us on that path. Um, but we have to continue to build data around what we already have. And then we'll see what happens. But that's really the ultimate destination when you look at the kinds of things that we're doing.
What is the current cash runway, and how confident are you that you'll get at least one contract by the end of the year?
So we have cash into Q4. Um, like I said earlier, I'm optimistic that we will get a deal done this year because we've been at it now for more than 6 months, 6 to 9 months. These things take 9 to 12 months, and we're getting good, very positive reactions. I also feel like if we get one, we might get two or three. I mean, that's just how it works. On the other hand, we're going to continue marketing Bullfrog data networks. That's it's not a biobucks deal, but still significant revenue potential for us, and it allows us to really establish ourselves as a leader in the world of drug discovery and development.
Is the Elizon project making money? How much? How close to a deal? How many? How big?
So yeah, the deal is signed. We've started the project. At the request of Elizon, we didn't disclose financial terms, so I can't discuss that. But it is an attractive opportunity for Bullfrog from a economic perspective, but also in terms of being able to make a difference in an indication that's been incredibly challenging. So it gives us really something to brag about, a case study, and it's already opening up doors from other companies that are that's a big area of interest. Design properly designing the clinical trial, late stage clinical trials, because on average, big pharma still fails 50% of the time in phase 3, even though they've invested 1 to 2 billion in 10 to 15 years. So there's a lot at stake, and the fact that we got that project and we're getting interest from others, that I think we're very, very well positioned there.
Are developing drugs for psychiatric disease in demand by pharmaceutical companies now? What is your edge exactly?
Our edge is, well, we talked about our technology, but the other big competitive advantage here, the moat, is the data. And we had exclusive access to that data. The Lieber Institute has brains from several thousand patients with neuropsychiatric disorders. So, nobody else for that period had access to that data. We've made the discoveries, and now we have commercialization exclusivity for several years. So that's really the big advantage that we have here. And to answer the rest of your question, there are companies that moved out of that space, and they moved out of it because of the challenges. They didn't have the right data, too many failures, and they didn't have a technology like ours. So I think you'll see movement back into neuropsychiatrics because let's face it, it's a huge market. I mean, 1 in 8 people on planet Earth, so that's about 1 billion people, have a mental health disorder. In the US, probably because it's diagnosed properly, it's 1 in 5. It's a big, big problem. So there's a big need there. A lot of the drugs that have been developed and approved don't even work very well. But with our technology and our precision medicine approach and this incredible data that we've mined, I think we might really change things in this market.
What has feedback been from pharma regarding the discoveries you made with Lieber?
Very intrigued. And it's like I said, we're having multiple discussions with big pharma. You have to go through the process. It's there's many steps in their process. They have committees and they have to get approvals and so on and so forth. So it's just going to take one. That's all we need is one deal. And I said I'm optimistic that we will get one this year.
Are you aware of any other AI companies that are helping small biotechs similar to your data networks?
Not really. The main thing is they don't have our technology. So they couldn't possibly offer what we offer or provide the value that we offer. There have been instances where it's they've requested that we do some kind of a head-to-head analysis. I can't talk about the details, but I can just tell you that we were pretty happy with those results. So I don't think there's an exact competitor out there, like a pure competitor. But there are solutions out there that offer, various levels of value. But I think we're in a very strong position.
When would you consider expanding your capabilities beyond neuropsych diseases?
Well, we're looking at that now. We think we want to stay in the brain, but we are going through that exercise as we speak. So we've made the discoveries for neuropsych. We've identified dozens of causal genes that are drivers of disease. We want to repeat that process with a new data set. The brain is really, untapped territory. Haven't been, not many successes there. We have experience there. We got all the pieces. So, in all likelihood, we'll continue exploring other diseases and disorders of the brain. I think the second half of 2025, we will start, mining and making those discoveries.
Can you talk more about how you generate IP for biotechs?
Yeah, so what we can do, for example, with Bullfrog data networks, and we've done this for ourselves, okay? We can look at public data, we can combine it with a company's proprietary data, and together, bringing all of that data together, we can identify biomarkers. We can identify new drug targets, for example. And like I said, we've done this for ourselves, even with a public data set. We've identified novel drug targets this was colorectal cancer. So when I say new intellectual property, that's what I mean. When a company has that information, they can advance that information and, build, their own IP portfolio around it. But I think the discoveries alone can be incredibly valuable, like almost, in very short periods of time. And it can sort of, in some cases, fill out their current IP portfolio. Maybe they have gaps, there's missing pieces, there's like a missing ingredient they need for their drug candidate to be a real home run. So those are some examples.
What is the ownership of insiders and employees?
Well, I have approximately 27% of the company. The rest of the insiders, you're looking at a few percent probably. Um, so I think around 30%, maybe a little bit more.
In a year from now, how will you measure whether you have been successful?
Year from now, I would expect us to be profitable. I would expect us to have a very significant amount of cash in the bank, to the point where we're in a situation where we can go shopping and look to acquire new technologies and assets. Um, and also that we have advanced targets beyond validation, and also maybe onto compound screening and lead optimization potentially, moving down that path. So I think those are a few things. And also, I was asked the question earlier, moving into another disease area beyond the three that we have been focused on.
And we'll just give everyone a moment or two to write any more questions that they may have. Meanwhile, I can tell everyone that if they want more information on Bullfrog AI, they can reach us at 1-800-RedChip or email us at bfrg@redchip.com. Bullfrog also has an investor information page with RedChip. It's bfrginfo.com. There you can sign up for news alerts on Bullfrog AI and view and download the investor presentation and fact sheet. You can also watch Small Stocks, Big Money, RedChip's program featuring exciting small cap companies, including occasionally Bullfrog AI, every Saturday night at 7 p.m. Eastern on Bloomberg USA. And we have more webinars coming up this week. Tomorrow it's Kalidi Biotherapeutics, also at 4:15 p.m. US Eastern. Register for all RedChip webinars at redchip.com/events. Vin, I'm not seeing any more questions in the queue. I guess we will end things here. Thanks again to our many participants, and thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a great day.